Hello, Solstice, and welcome to this conversation, very interesting conversation that I'm so excited to share with you. So, let me say a word about you. I met you recently in Utah, first at Sherry's place, where we had this amazing gathering of people that you do every Sunday. That is so fantastic. I love it. And then we met again in the middle of the most powerful, magical place around there in Rise. And I wanted to mention that if you want to go somewhere in nature, check with Solstice. He's a traveler. As a matter of fact, you have a YouTube channel that we can talk about also. And it's fantastic.
Two YouTube channels.
Two YouTube channel. But one is about traveling, right? About
Yes.
all magical places where you go that are so inspiring. And I'm so glad I went, we did this hike together in Rise that was so full of power and magic and having, you in the walk explaining things and, having so much information about everything was so fantastic. Even with for the next hike I did, I had some information that you gave us before, so it made a big difference basically. So that's a piece of you. That's
Yeah, that's
of you.
that's my joy to like take people to places that they even people who are local don't know about. Like I'm just good at finding these really like special spots and I love being able to do that with and take people to those places. So yeah.
Yeah, and you do it fantastically well, between the information and the energy, it's like, yeah, I did recommend anybody. So that's an aspect of you. And then, yes, we met, it was a group of people that I like to call that are more conscious, awake, in the process of being open to grow and to, to go to the next level in evolution, basically. So I was curious if you want to tell everybody a little bit about your own process in this, your own evolutionary process and, you know, how it happened or when it happened or
Mhm.
whatever you want to share, but to give
Okay.
everybody an idea.
Yeah,
Start.
thank you. Yes, thank you again, Joelle, for letting me do this interview with you. This is really wonderful. Yeah, so when I wasn't even 20 yet, so I had this traumatic event happen, and I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian home, and at the age of 19, I had this traumatic event happen, and the way it was being handled by my family and the church like made me start questioning everything I'd been taught my whole childhood. Like I didn't have a magical childhood. I didn't have any psychic abilities when I was young or something like that. Um, I think that was part of, now I understand now that was more part of my plan to like not have those abilities until later. So I questioned everything. I questioned what God was and basically really set out at a time when there was no internet and no support groups to go to like just go my own way, which was I realize now was quite brave and badass of me to be able to do that without any support whatsoever, to just start questioning everything that I had been my authority, questioning authority basically. And a big part of my spiritual journey was about healing my own trauma. And I do feel like that is a significant part of spirituality, isn't just about psychic abilities or magic or crystals. I mean, crystals do some healing, but I think it's more important to do your deep inner work and to heal and clear trauma. So I did a lot of inner child healing.
Mm,
And started about 2010. I started doing shamanic journey
mm,
work. And that's when I realized that, like, how, well, I guess before that, I was already starting to get visions. Like when I would do yoga, I called them yoga visions. So I was doing a yoga class again before yoga was really that well known. Like this was like the early 2000s. And, and I would call them yoga visions because I get so relaxed. And that, during the shavasana that I would like see visions of things and get understanding of things. Like it would just come to me naturally. And I think that's the key that a lot of people don't realize if they think, oh, they can't see things or not psychic. The
mm,
key is relaxation. It really is like the ultimate, like the deeper you can get relaxed, the more you can go into these other states, these altered states. And
mhm.
yeah, so in 2021, the very beginning, the new year came in and there was a Black Friday deal for Dolores Cannon's quantum hypnosis healing technique. I'm
Wow.
assuming we're gonna go to that next. It just seems to be segueing to it. Um, so it's called QHHT, and I had just like saw a few YouTube videos on it, on other practitioners doing sessions or predictions for the new earth or something like that, and I was like, what is this? This is cool. Like, and I felt like the information was coming through. Like I'd been doing shamanic journey work on my own for many years at that point, but it seemed like the information coming through was even more direct. Like shamanic work can be quite metaphorical and sometimes hard to interpret, like
Mm,
what information you're trying to get. And this
mm.
was like super clear, like clear, a full conversation with your higher self.
You
And
mean in sessions?
I'm sorry.
You mean that was happening when you were getting sessions, or?
Well, I was noticing it when I was observing other practitioners offering these sessions, and so I was curious about it. And then there was like this, ad on Facebook about, I think it was Facebook that I saw the ad about, some Black Friday deal to like become a certified quantum hypnosis healing technique practitioner.
Mm,
And then it was just like, I did a shamanic journey to ask if I should like do it. Like, should this like be my next step? And it was like a clear, like, yes, go do that. And so then I got certified at the beginning of 2021, or like I finished the course, but then I had to do 25 sessions, practice sessions
mm,
on
mm,
clients at that point. And so it was another year really till I was able to get fully certified.
mm. So
But
you met Dolores Cannon?
no, it was just an online course because Dolores Cannon passed away in 2014, and this is 2021 when I was getting
Oh,
certified.
21.
Mhm.
Okay, so I understood 2001. No, it was
Oh, so
2020.
2001 was when I was doing yoga
Yeah,
and going to college and still in my
yeah.
early 20s. And
So
yeah.
you had a course in online, and who was doing it online? Was
Well, it was Dolores. Like it was just a recording of Dolores teaching a class. So they had
okay.
found one of the best courses, like, or one of her best classes, I guess, and made that the class.
Hmm,
And then,
hmm.
and I'm sure there was other probably segments of sessions that were just really spectacular that they made part of the course. Yeah.
Yeah, we certainly, I mean, I met her in 2012,
Oh,
spent
wow.
10 days with her, and met some amazing people in the group.
Mhm.
And we had some like most powerful, amazing, and like you
Mhm.
said, like so clear, like the connection was so, she always talks about the veil and the other side of the veil, and it was a most amazing time, and on top of it, she's so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, clear connections, that for sure. Yeah. So yeah, so you became a QHHT practitioner,
Mhm.
and so I wanted to, because as a doula, I'm always curious about how to help, or looking for modalities to help the pregnant couples, or even before they conceive, eventually is even better,
Mhm.
uh, to help them like become clear channels to bring in those amazing souls that are coming. And the way we relate to being pregnant and to give birth is very related to our personal story. So, what we were sharing before the recording, and we're going to talk about it now, is about the mother and even the father clear their own stories. So it's not in the way, and it's not absorbed by the baby that is coming.
Mm.
So, yes, and I know you had some experiences, I mean, as a practitioner and
Mhm.
also personally. So what's your experience with using QHHT and clearing trauma? What kind of trauma that can relate to a baby coming?
Mhm. Yes, thank you. So, to start with, I want to explain that QHHT puts you into the theta state. So there's like the beta, that's your waking state, the alpha that's a little more relaxed and but you're still awake and aware. But then there's the theta state, the delta is the completely asleep state. So it's that point just before falling asleep or just when you wake up. And I find that that's when I get the most inspiration, is when I just wake up in the morning. Like, I don't like to wake up with an alarm. I want to just be able to lay there and see what comes through while I'm still really relaxed and
Exactly.
not fully awake. And I get the best inspiration then as to what to do next with my life. And but when your ages 0 to 7, they find that you are always in the theta state. And that's
Okay.
why, your childhood is more magical and you're just kind of more in the moment and yeah. So it's a really good modality. Like, Dolores doesn't really train in like how to use it for inner child work, but it's a great modality for doing inner child work.
So
And
what's your experience with that? Yes, because that's very specific and very important part of
yeah, what were you asking? What was my experience
your
with that?
experience as a practitioner in QHHT with trauma, you know.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so early childhood trauma. So your higher self is doing all the work. So you ask questions. You have your set of questions, and I help with questions, like good questions to ask when people tell me their story and what they're dealing with and their problems. And that's what guides it. So your higher self comes up with a scene. Like, you have the first portion of the session is just scenes, like in general. It doesn't always go exactly like that. You really flow with it, but in general you're having scenes. So the higher self will bring you scenes that will answer the questions that you have and to heal them, right? So it might be a past life, and it might be an inner child or an early childhood experience, and it could also be ancestral. So it can do all of those different things in a session, and the higher self determines what it is. And as the guide, I call myself like a self-healing guide, because you're doing all the healing. Your higher self is doing all the healing. I'm just there to guide you and to kind of decipher like what's happening when when the practitioner is telling me what's happening to them. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's like the most odd things, but I've been in this awakened conscious world for like 30 years, so nothing really kind of like throws me about like where are they? Like some people end up in the void, or I even call it like a white void. Sometimes there's like a white void, but there's often just a childhood. Like it's just they were there and that they're at their early childhood home and they're 6 years old and they're describing to me what's happening and I'm asking like what they're feeling and experiencing. And so it just, and I also use my intuition to know maybe where to guide it. So
Mm,
this is a good time to segue to like a specific recent client session that I just did where I felt intuitively to guide this client back to the womb. And
mm,
this client is actually like she just finished a 3-year, master's degree and to become a licensed clinical social worker. And she's
mm.
also done a lot of other healing work on herself and done other sort of therapy things before she even got that degree. So she's very self-aware, very introspective. She knows about inner child work and she had never gone back to her womb. Like she had done a lot of work on her 6-year-old self. But as we
Mm.
discovered in the session, it was like, well, that 6-year-old's already been traumatized. So working with her and trying to comfort her or bring her along in your life as you do in inner child work wasn't enough to really kind of release the core wound of this because QHHT is brilliant for taking you back to the core wound. Like not just like the stuff that's happened after the wound, but the initial moment where it began. And
Mhm,
sometimes that's a past life, and
mhm.
sometimes that's the womb, and sometimes it's just another early childhood experience or even, your teenage years or whatever, right? So it's oftentimes like a blocked memory. There's a lot of stuff that comes up that they forgot about that happens, and that's the beauty of the higher self bringing these memories back um, to help release it and let it go.
Yeah,
And
and I'm very
let it let it
interested in hearing more about the stories in the womb because there's like there's so many conversations out there around life in the womb where there's no consciousness or you
Mhm.
know
Oh, right, they won't remember it. Yeah, like
and there's no like they think that the baby, I mean, it's not part of your life. There's no memories from there. There's no experience. It's just a baby, getting ready to come to life, and then he has a story. But I wanted you to share a little bit more about life inside the womb because uh, life starts when you are conceived. I mean, I know, the spirit is not inside. I mean, we can talk for hours about that. But what is your experience like in relation to inside the womb with your clients or, you
yeah,
know,
so we're just describing so the client is describing to me what they're experiencing. And so in this particular case, I was just asking her how she was feeling, now that she's in that womb, she's now fully engaged in that experience of being inside the womb. And she was saying she was feeling really anxious. And I asked if it was her mother's emotions or her own, and it was both. And that her mother and then she was getting an understanding that her mother was feeling very anxious about having her because she had so much going on with her sister, her older sister, and her work and her husband, and like there's just too much going on, and so she was overwhelmed and stressed and didn't really want to have this baby. So she got an understanding of how much she wasn't wanted as a baby. Like it was quite severe actually, and that she had basically taken it upon herself to basically not have any needs, to not be a burden, any more of a burden to her mother who was already too burdened.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so one of the big understandings that was relating to her current life situation was a feeling of like that she couldn't really connect to women. Like she had a hard time having women friends. And this was a wound with her mother of not being able to connect to her mother. Like she basically um, she learned from the session that a need is connected to connection. Like, if she has a need, she can't feel connected. So in order to feel connected, I can't have needs. And
Wow.
it was such a powerful understanding of, like, where that was coming from and integrating all of that. And also the feeling of, like, there was something wrong with her because she wasn't wanted. So she had a lot of doubt about herself. So a lot of things would play out, like, at her job, her boss person, like, made her feel like that doubted herself and her skills and, like, kept questioning, like, "Well, what's wrong with me?" Like, "There must be something wrong with me." And
Mhm.
it was all this back to her mother of, like, um, that her that was the belief that she took on because there must be something wrong with me, that my mom doesn't want me, or that I have needs or anything like that, and it had nothing to do with her, it had everything to do with her mother, right? So now it
Right.
becomes on the conscious level, this is now brought forth, and her adult self can now comfort this baby, and one of the instructions that her higher self gave her was to on her daily she has a daily morning ritual that she does where she was taking the 6-year-old self there, but now her instruction was to take the baby self and just acknowledge it, see it, ask it what it needs, like, the baby, right? And, just really comfort that child, and it was such a beautiful thing, and she was absolutely blown away after the session. She was like, "Oh my gosh, Solstice, I can't believe it, like, all this time, I never realized it was the womb," and this is somebody who does a lot of therapy work and is a therapist, like, so that's how powerful these QHHT sessions can be, and how absolutely life altering this is gonna be for her in terms of, like, she basically completely cleared the belief that there's something wrong with her, and that's gonna change all kinds of dynamics of relationships for her, and the people pleasing that she was doing because of wanting
Mm.
to, like, please her mother, right? Like, if I could just please my mom,
Mhm.
if I ignore my needs and just please her or try to be as pleasant as possible, she will want me, she'll take care of me, right?
Mhm.
And these are the
Mhm.
survival parts of our inner child that she does that.
Yeah.
So
So there's a couple of aspects to this. First, to realize how what is life in the womb. So much is going on, and so many experiences we can have in the womb. And I feel like it's important to create that awareness, for the people that are having struggles, to include that part of life from conception to birth and birth per se. It's amazing. I mean, with rebirthing, I had so many experiences around birth and before birth too. But we can share a couple of experiences also. But to realize that life from conception to birth is happening. It's full of experiences, of feelings, of sensations, of it's part of the creation of what my friend calls the software that is going to make us go through life with different responses and perspectives and anything. So to create awareness around life in the womb, I think it's very, very important. And for the parents to heal those stories before becoming parents. Maybe
mhm. Yeah, there was actually an ancestral healing element to this client where there was a lot of guilt and shame that the parents still feel to this day around not being good parents. It's like they loved her, but they really were not good parents in a lot of ways. And there was like a whole like ancestral line of guilt and shame that was released and extracted and put back into the light. And so that was also massive. And we also took her back to the pre-birth time to understand like why she was coming in so she could learn her purpose here. And her
Mm,
purpose was to have compassion. But her
mm,
purpose in choosing these parents was to, like, understand that people aren't just mean, like, they have a reason why they do what they do,
mhm,
and to
mhm,
have compassion for that, and so that's been a significant theme in her life, and just having that, like, put into language, it just integrated so much of her life, and she got an understanding that she had accomplished her big challenge in this lifetime, and that she could kind of relax a little bit and be like, "Oh, wow, like, there's still more to do, but I've done a lot," and, like, kinda just like a pat on yourself on the back, like, "You have accomplished the thing you came in to do and
mhm.
job," you know?
That
So
gives me
there's even
chills.
that rebirth. Yeah, I got chills too when I was in this session, and,
What a good story.
yeah. So, like, to speak to your clients about, like, you have the potential in a QHHT session to even go to the time before you are even conceiving, to talk to the soul and ask it what it's coming in for, so that
Mm,
as a parent, you could support this child in what they came in to do. Like,
mm,
there's a book I read called Of Water and the Spirit. Was it about an African indigenous tribe?
mm,
And, they always did that, like, they would connect the shaman or the chief of the tribe would connect with the soul of the baby coming in to see what its goals are, what its purpose is, so that the whole tribe could support this child to do
mhm,
those things, and that's
mhm,
what you can do in a quantum healing session is to, like, learn why the soul chose you.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an important information. I also heard about a tribe where they create a song. They have a specific song for the child who's coming,
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
related to calling in the soul, you know. And every time, so during pregnancy, you sing that song, and every time the child is having a challenge, you sing that song, and the song is bringing you back into alignment with yourself and with your purpose. And I mean, we have a lot to learn from all those tribes that have all these rituals that, oh my God, yeah, I'm glad, it's coming back, and the new generations are more curious about learning from the traditions, and the whole thing, because we, as our society doesn't take much in account, neither the soul or the stories on how to support, protect, and support the being coming to the world. I mean, I would say even like it's the opposite. So we have a lot to learn from the tribes, and the amazing thing is that nowadays we can really clear. I mean, the generations that are bringing children souls to incarnation, they have possibilities, modalities to clear the channel to understand all these things. And I know that QHHT is one of those modalities that is amazing. I had the most amazing experiences. I don't practice, but I personally had the most amazing experiences with that. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit more about, other examples. I have my personal story about the womb, life in the womb, but I think you have also your own story in the womb.
Mm,
Maybe you want to share to have people understand that life in the womb is a reality too, you know?
mhm.
So what was your story?
Yeah, um yeah, it was actually I had a pretty intuitive alternative therapist that I was seeing, and at the time, this was, like, my mid-30s, so, oof, yeah, almost 15 years ago, I think? Yeah, so anyway, so you probably didn't need to know how long ago it was, but anyway, I was experiencing a feeling of like every time life got too hard to deal with, my go-to thought process was like, I just want to die. I don't want to be here. I just want to die. Let me just go home. Like it is how I felt about every problem in life. I mean, granted, I was dealing with a lot of difficult things at that time, but still, it was just like a go-to like pattern that I was doing. So when I explained that to this therapist, like she intuited, she's like, "Did your mom have a miscarriage
Oh,
before
wow.
you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, she did have it. It was quite traumatic for my mom. I think she got fairly mature, this baby, and so and so there was also probably wounds around just even being reluctant to have me because I was the third child, her third child, so she had experience with having babies, but I think she was nervous to try again because she could lose this baby. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so I had already had my shamanic skills, but I really thought that I wouldn't know what to do, but because like I wasn't we didn't do like a session around it. She just suggested that I do something with that. And so I did a shamanic journey with it, which QHHT and like shamanic journeys can be quite similar in the sort of altered state that you go into.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But this is before I knew about QHHT. So I went into the shamanic journey to like with the intention to go into my mother's womb and see what was up, see what was there. And this little baby like actually had like a little tuft of red hair and and she was like moody. Like I almost didn't know what to do with her. I remember asking my guide to like help me figure out like I don't know what to do with her. Like she's so like in a mood and like mad and angry and she doesn't want to be here and she doesn't want to she's super afraid to do this. Like she's afraid to come back in. Like she felt like we're all going to die. Like it's all doom and gloom and like there's this opportunity to come at this time period, right? This era.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Mm-hmm.
that she just was freaking out about having to go through. And apparently, so her name was Sarah, actually. I learned her name. And years later, I put it together that I forgot that my sister, the one that's just older than me, in her teenage years, like had this teddy bear that she named Sarah Bear.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
and she held that bear like a baby. And then also, like, there was, like, this ghost haunting us that she said she saw that was wearing pioneer garb, um, that her name was Sarah. So, like, my sister could, like, pick up on that. And,
Mm,
also my niece, which is the child of my sister,
mm,
also had something I forgot exactly her detail, but she had something around the name Sarah and, like, something that was connected to all of it, like, this whole ancestral thing. So from what I
wow.
am understanding, what I gathered over years, like that was that first shamanic journey, but then and we did do some releasing with her and it definitely changed the dynamic where I was no longer feeling like I just want to die, I don't want to be here. Because that was Sarah's energy. Sarah didn't want to be here. So she died and miscarried. And
Mm, wow.
so there
Okay.
was like an agreement because I actually don't belong in this family or haven't been part of this family line through lifetimes, right? Um,
Mm,
but I wanted to come into this family line because it had some things that would help me with what I wanted to accomplish in this lifetime with my karma and stuff like that. So here was like this opening, a potential body to take, right? And she didn't want it. She's changing her mind, right? She was changing her mind again, like um she after the first miscarriage, she was gonna try again.
mm,
So it was kind of like a walk in. But the agreement was that I will come in with you. So she came in with me and I will help her with what she needs to accomplish that she's too afraid to do, like as like a support soul, because I was a lot more of a courageous soul, like a lot more advanced and more of I was more advanced. So I wasn't afraid to do it, I guess, what she was too afraid to do. So actually this abusive boyfriend that I had years ago, uh, was her ex from another lifetime.
Hmm.
Um, and they had a big fight, and it was, I'm not going to get into all the details of that past life together, but um, basically, that's why I was attracted to this abusive man, because that was like what needed to be worked out with Sarah. Sarah needed to work out that thing. So
Mhm.
so yeah, so we accomplished that, and then it's like after that relationship was over, like she came to do, and then she it was time for her to go. So it's like now at this point, it's just Solstice, which is because I've actually changed my name legally. Like Solstice is not my original name, my birth name. So it's
Mm.
like the true essence of me now is fully embodied, and I am now fully Solstice, and that soul Sarah has gone.
Mm.
And because she did what she needed to do. And now I get to just continue this line, right? Or this lifetime, being able to take that opportunity, I guess, to use this family or whatever. But it's
Yeah.
partly why I think I don't feel like I belong in my family. It's so
That's
different.
another, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, no, no. I mean, for many people,
Well, just even
I
like
think,
a lot of people just feel like they just want to go home, right? A lot of star seeds feel that way. Like, I just want to go home. I don't want to be here on planet Earth. I don't want to deal with this.
well,
That
the thing is that, yeah, I mean, in my experience, when I was coming here to the world for this lifetime, I was very excited because honestly, we live in a very special time right now in the world. And I was very excited. But when I got into the body and when what I went through, oh my God, it's like, it's long story. It was like, oh, that, I didn't think about it before coming. I didn't, I was so excited to come and be part of this whole adventure, but I
Mhm.
didn't realize. So, yeah, you're like, what am I doing here? This is not what I had, envisioned or whatever. So, and yes, and you have this like this memory of the other side that is so wow, like a bliss. I do this in this meditation in the morning where we are floating in golden divine light, like in bliss, and it's like, oh, that's real life. So it's not easy, and that's why I chose to become a doula, because it's not easy to come into this level of density that is the third dimension.
Mhm.
Creates a whole lot of situation and limits and suffering and all kinds of things that are quite intense. Even the process of being born is a ritual, and it's perfect. Mother Nature is like doing it the perfect way, because in the process of coming through that tunnel of birth and being born, and it's a long story, but you learning what this dimension is about. Part of the story of birth is learning, and the whole time we are in the belly, it's also a place where we can slowly, indirectly start getting a feeling of what life in this dimension is about you know so but today I wanted to really like talk focus on that part, like being in the womb and all the stories, because part of it, like you were saying, that you and Sarah were kind of together in the womb for the reasons that you explained. And there's that happens a lot. That's something also that people need to know about. When you are in the womb, at least at the beginning, you may not be alone. You may be
Mhm.
other soul or a few, I mean, 2 souls or 3, you know. And depending on the way you perceive that experience, I mean, there's reasons why those other souls are there, and each one has their own story, reasons to be there. And but it creates a situation oftentimes where you feel guilty, or you because you stayed alive. That's what happened to me. You know, I was
Mhm.
with another being, and then there was room for only one. And I thought I decided to stay there, selfish me, you know, and whatever. And the other one had to leave. So that created a guilt for me, like seriously give, like you are so selfish, you look what you did, and da, 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 da. And but that's not the reality. The reality is that I was supposed to stay, and this being was supposed to not stay and maybe come later, or whatever the story is. Each story is different. And sometimes the other souls are coming in the womb. That makes me think a little bit about your story, to support this being to come to the world. Because, like we were saying, it's not easy to come to the world. And sometimes you don't want to come, you know. Like when you listen to near-death experiences, the people go to the other side of the veil, and then they have to come back, and they're like, I don't want to come back, you know. So, or sometimes the being choose to have support. Other souls are in the womb at the beginning to support the being on, you know, getting used to be in the womb to start with and come into life. And it's important information for people to have, and also to clear, you know. So QHHT is a way to heal those wounds among.
Yeah, I did have another client, which you told me this story before we did the recording, and it reminded me, and I didn't know about this. I didn't know there was a thing where other beings came in as a support or for various other reasons, but were not going to be born. But I did have a client that went through the pre-birth stage, and these beings around her were pressuring her, like kind of almost like pushing her to just go, like, do it. You need to do it. You've waited long enough. Like, you need to go. Like, and oh no, I'm too afraid. I don't want to do it. No, and she did actually have a tremendous life of abuse and whatnot. So it was quite understandable why she was really freaked out about trying to do it
Mhm.
again. But
Yeah.
then I think the brother got absorbed in the womb, and so it was just her. I think there was twins. I don't remember now, but I think there was there was three babies at first, and then one got absorbed in the womb. But you had another part of your story about a baby doll.
Oh, because I wanted my brother, you know, I wanted the soul that left. I wanted that to be in life, you know. So I did all kinds of things first. As soon as I was able to talk, I pressured my mother so much to get pregnant and bring the baby. And she was not able to keep the babies because of the some kind of situation. She was not able, she would get pregnant, but she would not keep the babies. So that didn't happen. So then I got this baby doll, and for years I was praying, because I was born in a Catholic, I mean, from my mother's side, they were Catholic. So I was praying every night and asking God to make this baby become the real baby.
Mhm.
And that went on for years until it didn't happen either. And my thought was like, okay, maybe there's no God, you know. And I went to the living room and I told my parents, I'm not believing in God unless I have proof of something different, you know. And my mother was in shock, and my father was like, yes, good idea, you know. It was like very supportive of that, which was like surprise. And I'm glad she was, because it makes sense. So anyways, then I decided, well, I guess I'm going to have to bring that baby myself. So my obsession was like, get pregnant and have a baby and have him come. And I had my first baby. And at the beginning, when I was talking about my baby, I was like, yes, because my son, da 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 da, because my son, I had to like spontaneously, I was, and for him it was also probably a challenge because he was always reminding me that I'm his mother, you know.
Right.
But
I'm not your brother. I'm not your friend.
you're not my friend. You are my mother. And I'm like, okay, okay. So, but anyways, I mean, it's good to share those stories for people to click and realize, oh my God, that's why da 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 da. That's why I feel like, oh my God, maybe I should have a session and go in there. And so it's a part of the story that is not shared a lot. Now there's book out there to talk about, I think, the twin, uh, and there's been a lot of research, but it's not like you talk about with the people in general,
Mm,
and so it's an important theme.
mm,
So, anyways, so that's I think it's something to talk about, and then so if somebody wants to contact you, do you have a website, or we just put the email address? How do you want people to contact you if they want a session?
okay. Thank you, Joelle. Um, so I did actually have one more womb story I wanted to tell, but we'll first say, like, so I have a YouTube channel that's
Mhm.
called DIY Healing Guide. So you can go there. So DIY just means like that you can do it yourself. I'm just here to guide you, and you do all the healing. So you're healing yourself. I'm not the healer. I'm not going to lay my hands on you and give you energy work. You do the healing. I'm just connecting you to your higher self and helping to ask really good questions and intuitively know where to kind of guide it. But you're really doing the healing. So that's why I call it DIY Healing Guide. And
Okay.
you can see other sessions on there of
Mhm.
that I've done. And you can email me at solsticeelliott@gmail.com. So that's SOLSTICEELLIOTT@gmail.com. And you can contact me that way to set up an appointment. And
And I will
during
put that
just
under the video in the information. I will put that, so
thank you. Yeah,
my
and I generally like to do like a more of a free introductory call just to get to know you and just see how I can help you, and then we do the session.
and you
Um,
do long distance, because this is important. I mean, do you do long distance? Can you do a
oh yeah,
session?
yeah, I can do online sessions. Yes.
Okay, that's important. Yeah, that's the
Um, Dolores Cannon does not, in her certification, you do not do online sessions, but there's another modality that I'm certified in called Beyond Quantum Healing
Mm,
that teaches you how to do an online session safely. And
mm,
so I'm also certified in what's called BQH, or Beyond Quantum Healing. And
mm.
it's very similar to QHHT, but it has its own style, which is I find really helpful. And what else was I going to say? Oh, if you wanted to go to my van channel,
Yeah. So what's
yeah,
the other
my
channel? This
my
fun.
nomadic lifestyle and follow my adventures is called Solstice on an Odyssey, because I
Okay.
have an Odyssey van that I travel around in, and a Honda Odyssey. So it's Solstice, SOLSTIC, on an Odyssey. So you can check that out too.
Okay, and we will put that all that information under the video. That you can find this video on my YouTube channel, Joël Claret. Huh? So yeah, you want to say the other
Yeah,
side?
so yeah, I used to have the most severe menstrual cramps, and I knew that there was a mind-body connection, like, that there isn't it's not just a purely physical experience that I'm having, right?
Mm,
So I wanted to, like, uncover, like, what was the cause of that so that I could heal from it, because I tried all kinds of physical things like castor oil and I don't know, like, some relaxation techniques, and I don't know, red raspberry leaf, things like that. So, um, but none of that worked. And actually, to be honest, I never healed it actually, and now I no longer have periods. So, um, because I didn't have QHHT at the time. Like, I didn't get trained in it until after I've been in menopause. So, um, but in the shamanic journey, I learned that women deserve to be punished, is was a belief that I had, that women
mm,
deserve to be punished, and that I don't deserve love because I've been bad. So in a
mm,
QHHT session, I actually learned, um, now after the fact that I don't have that torment anymore every month, um, that I was tortured and that I felt that I deserved it because of
mm,
things that I had done in that lifetime, and that was a a huge core wound for me of
mm,
feeling like I don't deserve it, and it keeps playing out in this lifetime. It no longer plays out now, but it did then, of like feeling like, well, I don't deserve to be loved because I've been bad, and that would play out in my relationships and my childhood, and so this so the menstrual cramps that were so like really torturous, really, right, were
mm,
because of that being tortured in that other lifetime. So there's other
mm,
womb healing that can be done before having a baby around
mhm,
being a woman,
mm.
and
Absolutely.
past experiences around having children, that can
Absolutely.
be a trauma around, like, you might have died in childbirth in another lifetime. I have had a client have that experience, and so yeah,
Yeah.
so the trauma around that can also be healed in terms of your womb. So
And you know, the religious thing about pleasure, sexual
oh.
pleasure. And like I had my children in Venezuela. I was born in Venezuela. I had my children in Venezuela, and it's very, very Catholic. And when you were coming to the hospital to have your baby, and you were having a contraction, and you were like, "Oh my God, no, 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 no." They were like, "Ah, yeah, you had some fun and you had some pleasure to make that baby. Now you can suffer."
Right, now you deserve that suffering of childbirth for having any pleasure at all. Yep,
Yeah, so that's a whole other theme for another conversations. But
for sure.
thank you for telling this story, because it's so those are all those beliefs are in the way of a fantastic orgasmic birth. I talk a lot about orgasmic birth for the mother and the child, and all these beliefs that are so anchored, like almost in the DNA, are in the way and need to be cleared. So,
Mhm.
wow, yeah, that's an opening to another conversation
Right.
for
I
another.
think it's so brilliant, Joelle, that it's brilliant that you, teach people how to have orgasmic birth, because that's really what I feel like is part of the new earth, is that women it'll just become standard. Women will have orgasmic births. They will not be having this torturous experience of childbirth.
Yes, and talk about how everything that exists, every creation is the result of an orgasm, because orgasm is sacred. Orgasm is a divine thing. So we need to like really, really clear and clean and shed all the layers of stories of how that has been affected. Because if you want to know what God is, like, go to a tantra, sacred orgasms. It's God. It's reconnecting with your divinity in you and your life force, your chi, raising your kundalini. All these things have been shut down by all this traumatic sexuality that creates, as a consequence, rapes and horrible sexual abuse with the children and all those things. So we really, really have to come back and clear all that, and so we can bring these amazing souls. And so, yeah, yeah, that was my choice. Thank you, Solstice.
Yeah,
In
this
what?
is so amazing. I love this. This is so great. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for doing what you're doing. And hopefully, we'll have other conversations very soon. But for now, if anybody has a question, please contact us. If you like the video, please make a comment. We
Mm,
need to know.
the thumbsies upsies.
Yes, we need to know, what, how we can help and support this evolution and clearing and cleaning of the stories. So bye for now, and see you next time, everybody.